Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I have the results for you from my most recent farming project, which is 100 T17 tropical islands using the Delirium map modifier from Sauna to farm splinters, to farm currency, and also, or most importantly in this case, the aura stacking jewels that a lot of people are using and that going for I think like 38, 39 exalts or something like that. 6 passives, 6% increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills. So overall, I gotta say it was a very nice experience of running those maps. I had a lot of fun because running, like me as a mapper, running those juiced maps, what I would say, having a lot of monsters in there is just a lot of fun, especially when you wear like something like a headhunter and stuff. The only thing I disliked was like the backtracking, you know, like when I'm farming maps, I go in, I kill the monsters, I pick up the loot, and I continue. And once I kill the map boss, I'm going out and start the next map. In these maps, you kind of have to like permanently kill monsters and keep on moving because the Delirium fog is constantly moving as well. So if you take like too much time just picking up all the stuff that dropped, you're gonna run out of Delirium fog, and then you're gonna have a lot less splinters. So what you have to do is just clear the entire map until the boss, open all the tumors and cocoons and whatever to have as many monsters as possible killed. At the end, you can stop the Delirium, or it will naturally stop at some point. You're gonna pick up the loot and then back travel the entire map and pick up the loot. This is the only thing that I did not like too much. All right, I would say first things first, we're going to take a look at my write-downs. So I want to mention some very important thing here, right? When I started this project, it was like 3 or 4 days ago, the Exalt exchange ratio was 1 to 75. At the moment, we are looking, I think, like 91, 92 chaos per Exalted Orb, which means the entire project throughout would be different if I say, hey, when I spend the currency to run all my maps or buy all my maps, prepare everything, I spend like a certain amount of exalts, but this amount of exalts would be worth more today because today is the Exalt exchange ratio of 1 to 91. So what I did is I continued to using the 75 chaos per Exalted Orb. That means if we take a look at the map sales, or at least at the sales in general, I have here a 6 passive Aura Stacker Jewel, and that is 38 Exalts times 75 Chaos. So throughout this entire project, the Exalt is 75 Chaos, although today, when I'm done with it, the Exalt is 91, just to keep it as accurate as possible and not gonna mix everything throughout. So one thing I did change in the cost of the map, if you remember, it was about 70 Chaos or something per map. What I did is I was increasing the sextants from 5 sextants that I plan to use to about 10 sextants per map, just because, or 10 sextants per 3 maps, just because there is so many good modifiers that you can hit with the sextants, like extra Legion, extra Breach, Alva, then you can have like a Nemesis, 3 additional currency, for example, you know, like all of these things are super good. So that's why I catched myself spending way more sextants that I was actually planned to use. So I upped this one from 5 sextants to 10 sextants to keep it more realistic. So we're gonna go down to like 73 chaos per run. Another thing that I want to point out here, if we take a look at the map cost again, I bought my Booming Populace for 1 Exalt. They're currently, I think, 1.5 Exalts. The Territories is not too much of a difference. The Stalwart Defenders, I bought mine for, what was it? I think 225, 3 Exalts per piece. They are currently going for like 4 Exalts a piece or so. So the prices did rise up, especially when it comes to the map. I bought my 100 maps with about 10 chaos average. They are currently going for like 15, 16 chaos per average. So keep that in mind. If you want to reproduce this entire project, you're probably going to pay more for going this project. So you will probably land about, I would say, like 85 chaos or 90 chaos per map, which means that your outcome will be different than mine in that regard. I mean, it's a map gamble, right? So that means you're gonna drop loot, you're gonna pick that up, price check it, and see how much profit you made in the overall. And that means it always depends on the cluster jewels, where I found 3 of those that sold for like, I think one sold for 39x, the other 2 sold for 38x. That means that if you don't find any, you have like 100x less profit than I do, right? If you find 5 of those, you're gonna have like 80 exalts more profit than I do, right? So I just want to keep those or say all of the things in the start of the video before we're going to go over all the things that I dropped and stuff. Just because I know people will comment like, hey, Exile exchange ratio is false, you know, like, hey, your Stalwart commander code 3x, that's a lie, it's 4x, you know, this was different, that was different. Scarabs are now more expensive or even cheaper, so don't forget, we started this project like 3 or 4 days ago, now we're done, so prices over the days change, especially when you take a look at the Exalted Orbs. Alright, so for the first spoiler, how much profit did we make before we go into detail on what dropped? We currently made about 246 exalts profit, which is about 18,462 chaos, which is actually we had like 350 exalts roughly, then 100 exalts for the maps leaves us with about 250 exalts profit on that part. So let's split up all of the things that we have basically in our tabs, which is currency, fragments, then we have divination cards, essences, some fossils, the leftover watchstones that I have not calculated in because these ones have more uses. This one is, I think, 18, this has 15, and the other ones are like 12 or something like that. Then this one is not calculated in. Then maps of like the simulacrums, we had 31 simulacrums in total. Some blighted maps, nothing too special, catalysts, whatever, some altered distant memory. I had 3 quad tabs full of loot, which mostly was currency. And then there is like a couple of bases that I tried to sell for like 4 or 5 chaos or so. Haven't sold since. None of them is in the project. And these are the leftover loots that I have, which is like countless of cluster jewels and bases and whatnot. Good. So if you take a look at the currency tab, yeah, overall, how much exalts did I find? If we calculate this one real quick. So when I say we have 139 on my stash, I sold 1 cluster jewel for 39, I sold 1 for 38, and I sold 1 for 38 again. Then I had 1 medium cluster jewel that sold for like 2.5x, so that's roughly 2 exalts less. Then I had a booming populace for 1x and another one for the thread of hope that I found. So I would say roughly this 20 exalts is the drop count that actually dropped, but keep in mind, probably 1 or 2 exalts of the 20 will be from the exalted shards that just popped over the course of the duration, right? So I would say about 18 flat exalted orbs seems realistic for me. Other than that, countless of alterations, what are worth quite a lot, basically. So alterations are like 600 chaos, that's like 7 exalts or so, just from the AWP of alterations, 3,500 jewelers, and this is only from the 6-socket recipe, okay? I did not buy, or my loot filter doesn't even show single jeweler orbs drops, neither do they show single chromatic orb drops, right? So keep that in mind, this is just from selling 6-socket items, which is another 3,500 jeweler orbs and a bunch of divines that was also like 6-link drops that are not worth more than a divine, so I just vendored those. Some ancient orbs and quite a lot of other stuff, so we end up having 16,600 chaos, which is already paying off for the entire map cost. But I do have to say, in this currency tab are the sales in there, right? So these like 9,000 chaos that I sold from trades already in this, so basically it's about 7,000 chaos that I have over here, which is basically almost paying off for the entire map project. Then when it comes to fragments, nothing too special, a bunch of like scarabs, whatnot. From the Legion encounters, I have 1 complete Marakath, 2 Templar, and 5 Val emblems. The other ones I did not pick up, they're just not worth picking up hundreds of splinters. And we get up to a total of like 831 chaos, with the best ones obviously being the Marakath emblem and the Templar emblem. They're going for like 1.3x, 1.2x, and yet again, this is 1.3x, right? That means that the Exalt exchange ratio is 1 to 91, so this is just calculated with the 75 that I explained beforehand. Then let's keep on going with divination cards. It's just whatever is in there. The 1 stacks that I had full, I opened, as well as the stacked decks. Then essences, just a couple, some fossils. These ones, as I said, are not calculated in. Then we go over to the maps, which is a bigger approach here. So what I did is price checking 5 chaos for a tier 14, 6 chaos for a tier 15, and 7 chaos for a tier 16. Although maps do vary in price. If I take a Cursed Crypt map, we're going to price check there 5 chaos, right? If you now take a look at the tropical islands, they are currently on, I think, 15 chaos or so. Yeah, 14, 15 chaos. So it definitely depends which kind of map. But I said, you know what, let's take an average of 7 so it makes the calculation easier. So we found about 364 high tier maps. No other lower ones, just because I'm running Awakener 8, and I think my loot filter doesn't even show anything less than tier 14 anymore, because they're worthless, especially now, like almost 2 months into the league. Some Guardian maps that I have not picked up in prices because they're 15 chaos as well, they also count as 7 chaos, okay? So there is a little bit of a price misinformation here, but you know, at one hand I want to keep it as simple as possible, so I did not calculate every single map with like, hey, we have one peninsula map that's like X amount, we have one primordial. I just said, dude, I have 124 tier 16 maps, we do 7 chaos a piece, and that's it. Then a bunch of like all kinds of like unique maps that are usually just trash, 1 chaos, 2 chaos. The only thing that is different is like these two distant memories here. They're like 25 chaos a piece or 28 for the augmented, and we get up to like 2,500 chaos, and I think this is realistic based on the maps that we have here. And that also counts in the two blighted maps here, 16 that I found, 215 and 313, and this happens when Cassia randomly appears on your tropical island maps. Then we have oils, just a couple of like nothing too mentionable. We price check all the catalysts and whatnot. Delirium is the next big part to talk about. How many simulacrums did I actually farmed up in these 100 maps? It was about 31 simulacrums and 9 leftover splinters. So that means, yeah, we have found about, let's say, 31 times 300 plus 9, about 9,300 simulacrums, splinters basically in the 100 maps. And I actually made the work that I just wrote down every single splinter count that I had throughout this entire project. So map number 1 was 68 splinters. Map number 23 was 104 splinters. So I actually wrote down every single splinter count of each map, and then when I have an average, and my average was 93 splinters per map, which is about 31 simulacrums that we have over here. So that is accurate. And if you take a look on what determines basically how many splinters you get, because you're probably going to have seen in the past on Reddit here the video of Don the Crown that had 300 splinters in one single map. And I encountered this very often on my stream, which is for me personally just, yeah, stupid, but whatever, people are like that. I have a run and I dropped 93 splinters, and they're like, lol, what the fuck did you, Don the Crown made 300, you only 90, you're so bad, you know? And I'm like, whatever. So what determines basically how many splinters you're getting, right? And this is just how hard do you choose your maps, right? And I was running my maps. I have none left over, so we're going to talk about this. Or actually, we just have a write-down here as well, right? So I was running just an alchemy map, no Val, no maps with like ridiculous like 130% quantity. Then sextants, as I said before, we had rusted, Metamorph, Legion, Elder, and Breach, so no gilded. This will bump up the price pretty heavily, as well as no prophecies, and just nothing ridiculous, right? Just normal maps, 4 breaches, and the watchstones, basically, right? And if you're wondering, like, how, when you take a look at his approach, right, he was using, I think, winged scarabs, like a juiced map, you know, like an inventory full of prophecies that just add more and more monsters and stuff like that. So that explains why he got so much. But his way was just to gain the most amount of splinters possible. My project is a currency project. I want to get currency, and I can almost guarantee you the way he tried to get the max amount of splinters, he paid like 10 times more for each map just to try, but this is just a different approach. Mine is how to make currency, his was what is the maximum possible amount of how many splinters you can get. So just for to remember that. And I had some very bad runs and some good ones. If we say, what was the lowest splinter count that I ever got, was 36. And the highest was 174 throughout this 100 maps. So how the hell did this happen, and how the hell did this happen? So I encountered I wouldn't say a bug. It's just based on how is the map layout and what decides the simulacrum fog to do, right? And I just have to pull out paint now, just to make it easier, right? So let's assume you have your tropical island map here, which is like a two-part yeah, map basically, right? So then we say this is your basically your starting point, and you move up this direction. Here is basically the cave, and then you end up being over here, and here is the boss, right? And you would just go this direction, right? So you start the map, clear the first part, go in the middle section, the small tunnel, come out here and go to the boss, right? So if the simulacrum, let's say the simulacrum fog is this red cluster over here, right? So if it happens that it goes from from south to north, you won't have a problem because you can take forever for the map. It's not really relevant because the fog is moving with you towards the boss, right? And it happened actually like every 10 maps, I would say, that the Delirium fog was not moving from the bottom to the top. It was actually moving from the left to the right. And this basically means that once I'm actually on the second part, and let's say this fog moved to the left side, so it is somewhere over here now, right? I have absolutely no chance when I'm like here and do like a Legion Stone, right? And then I see that the fog is actually coming and it will end. So what I did was just like leap slamming to the boss, because you want to kill the boss. It's like extra 10 or 15 splinters. And since the Delirium is moving to the right side, I have no chance, no matter how much attack speed I have, even if it only takes me 1 second to get to the boss and 1 second to kill it, the fog will be gone and the boss will be killed outside of the fog, and that means a lot less splinters. And this basically showcases here when I had all these super bad runs. So we had like, we have here 70, 70, 59. That was actually with the boss, just a bad layout. But once we're actually dropping down to like 40 splinters, here 55. Where is the one that I had over here is like 51 again. I think it was like, here it is. Run number 77 was 36 splinters, and there everything went wrong that could possibly go wrong, right? So just as an explanation, why the hell did I had one run with 36 splinters, right? And what happens with this one is if you're super lucky with your spawn, so the further away you kill the monsters, the higher the chance probably that they drop splinters. So what happened is all my Legion Stones were like right before the boss at the end of the map. I had a Cassia in there, I had a random Alver spawn that increased the monster density, I had a Cassia in there, so I just had shit tons of monsters more just randomly generated by the map that I did not use. So I did not use any of my maps with the Alver modifier here, but it can also happen that you randomly get her just in the map, you know? So that's the reason why I had like 174 over here and like 36 over here. So if we take a look at the write down, it was about 5,000 chaos just from my Simulacrum tab alone. Then what else is important to notice, as I said, none of these here is calculated. Metamorph, Catalyst, just the random stuff. And basically the cells, I found 3 of those, expensive cluster jewels here with the 6 passives. I had 1 5 passive that sold for like 2.5 exalts and 1 booming populace. And this is basically when I'm doing these runs, you almost like you gonna spawn the Conquerors, right? And when you've done all the Conquerors, then obviously when Saurus spawn, I'm gonna do him real quick and start all over again, because why should I not do Saurus? Sadly, Saurus had only shit drops, nothing to mention. Basically, the only thing was 1 booming populace. It's also like 1.5 exalts, and the rest, I don't know, like 9 chaos for a thread of hope or some shit like that, which are not getting calculated over here because it's just too low value, you know? I'm not going to list every 3 chaos trait that I had because I sold an Elder Citadel bow or something like that into this. So, and as I said, that goes down to like about roughly 250 exalts, pure profit in a matter, I would say, of about 3 days. So how does this look like when you take a look at the Chaos Orbs total? As I said, this is the outcome. Profit per map with my outcome is about 2.5 exalts per map that I had profit, right? The Chaos per day, this is like, I calculated it the way that I said, how much does one map take, right? And I checked my PoE map watch, and it was about 7.5 minutes, I would say, right? And that means if I multiply this per 1 hour, it's like 8 maps per hour that I can run, and the 100 maps divided by 8 would be around about 12 and a half hours pure farming time, right? And if we divide this by our profit, we would actually get up to like almost 20 exalts per hour profit based on that. But I would say what is realistic, because that does not count in like breaks and something like that, does not count in preparing your maps, does not count in sorting out your quad tab and so on. So what I did on the realistic side, I set 10 minutes per map instead of 7.5 minutes, so I have 2.5 minutes extra just for sorting and whatnot, and this sums up obviously for 100 maps, but we would still be on about 15 exalts profit, and this is also based on how many of these cluster jewels will you find throughout the project, because this is the big money bringer. Just the three the 3 hour stacking jewels that I found was about 120 exalts, where I had 100 exalts investment. So that meant when I found the third one, I said like, dude, I already have 20x profit without counting anything in. No exalt drops, no splinters, no simulacrums, no whatever. So overall, big profit here, 250 exalts made in the matter of like 3 days. That's about 80 exalts pure profit per day, which is kind of insane, and I can definitely recommend running those. It's a lot of currency, it's a lot of profit, and overall it's like a very cool map and layout to run. As I said again, I really enjoyed it. I just think that the backtrack looting is kind of freaking annoying, and in the other hand, we have to know, or have to hope, if you want to do this project in the next league in 3.13, will we have the Delirium modifier on the map mod or will we not? And this basically will base around like if we're gonna do this again next league or something, or even if I decide that this will become one of my main farming strategies for making currency. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video.